So I will keep them up here for anyone to review them. If you'd like, you can always reach out to me and I can forward that report to you as well into your inbox. That's all I have. All right. So we'll move right into our discussion pieces.
CCPSA applications.
So like I mentioned, we are looking for people to apply. It is last week, so if I can have some support from CCPSA staff to go over the application process.
Like Ashley mentioned, we're the nominating committee, which is a portion of the 65 elected officials that are across the city. There's 3 in front of you now. You have 22 districts. 1 from every district is on a nominating committee, so Ashley's your nominator. And January 8th, an application launched to find new commissioners. And oh, here. That's where's Chris?
There we go.
All right, great. Okay, so applications are due on Wednesday at noon. But that's okay. You guys can do this. Like, letters of support and everything. We're going to go through this quickly. And even if I go through it quickly, there's flyers back there with a QR code that'll take you directly to the website, okay?
And we can take any questions if you.
Yeah, and I'll hang out for questions, right, okay. So we're gonna share quickly about the commission, review the nomination process, and find out how to apply. What is CCPSA? It is the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability, and it is comprised of 2 parts. It's comprised of the 7-person commission, and then it's comprised of the district councilors. The commission that is in place now is an interim commission that was appointed by Lori Lightfoot. They serve 4-year terms, and by lottery, 3 or 4 people have to serve a 2-year term, so when they come off, no one's coming, we don't lose all 7 at the same time, but that's done by a lottery. It is meant as a part-time position that you get $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month, and then $15,000 divided by 12, depending on the role that you're in. The president is selected by the 7 people. That's a vote. Okay. They work with the police department, they work with the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, and the police board. Civilian Office of Police Accountability is the investigating body when there are transgressions and police misconduct and abuses by officers, and then police board is the disciplining body for the law enforcement agencies for CPD. Okay, all right. CCPSA are 7 commissioners that you see up here. They work on policy making with the 3 agencies that you saw on the previous slide. They work on appointments. Most popularly, or probably the thing that you've most heard of, is that Superintendent Larry Snelling is now a superintendent, and that's because of the rigorous process that the commissioners went to create the short list to find the superintendent. They also work on police board appointments, and they're also in charge of selecting the COPA leadership. It's called head administrator, if and ever when there is a vacancy in the at COPA. They work on goal setting and evaluations. They spend from November, December, and into January reviewing the goals from the previous year, working with the 3 agencies and the leadership in those 3 agencies to set new goals. The January 2024 meeting, which was I think it was just like a week and a half ago. It's on the commission meetings are on the last Thursdays. So they just recently released the 2024 goals, and they've got videos of the meetings on YouTube if you want to see those goals. And those goals will be shortly posted on the website. They also work on hearings and reportings. And when I say hearings, there is a part of the ordinance that says if they get X amount of signatures, if they get 2,000 signatures on a very specific topic, the commission will hold a hearing about that topic. So there is a ShotSpotter gun detection technology meeting coming up next week, and that's because community members gathered enough signatures to hold that. So you'll hear that's one of their fun powers, and they also have powers on reporting, so they'll send out reports about the budget, they'll likely send out a report about what they learned at the gun technology detection hearing, and then they also work on recommendations based off of those hearings. All right, they're pretty busy, all the things they did. So some of the policies that they worked on were disabling the gang database. They worked on a new policy that had not, well, it's not new. It was a policy that hadn't been updated since the mid-90s about preventing associations with hate and terrorist groups. And they've worked on hearings on officer wellness for our CPD officers and public safety workers. So they've been very busy. It's a lot of responsibility. And if this is the kind of thing that you care about, making broad policies, helping select quality leadership for our city, there is this process right now. And we're looking for folks who've lived in Chicago for 5 years. You can't have been employed by CPD, COPA, or the police board for 5 years, so you can be retired in 5 years out. You must have 5 years of relevant experience in some of the areas listed here, not limited to. Here are just some examples. As you can imagine, because this is such an important role, you have to have a reputation for integrity and professionalism, leadership and community involvement, and the ability to engage with diverse stakeholders. Like, I'm sure you can imagine that the spectrum of ideas and opinions and thoughts about public safety is like quite a spectrum. And because of that, you have to be able to work collaboratively. As these lovely stock images show you. Okay, so what's interesting about the commission is we want to make sure it's diverse and representative of the city. So there, you'll see that we need 2 from the south side, 2 from the west side, and 2 from the north side, and then there's 1 extra person that represents the city as a whole and can come from any part of the city. And there's also some really interesting categories for the composition of the commission. We need 2 attorneys, we need 1 community organizer, and we need 2 young people. Between 18 and 24 is what we consider young, and everything that we said about 10 years this and 5 years that, because they're so young, they have a different set of qualifications, and they're exempt from the 5-year one. This is exciting. This is the first time ever. Like, elected people get to pick the commission, not the mayor. The mayor affirms and confirms, but they're not creating the short list. So, here's the current commission. We might have to say goodbye to some of them. Some of them might be applied. We shall see. Find Ashley in the picture, everyone. Oh, she's right there. Yeah. Yeah. So I think this was the July meeting. So the nominating committee has had many meetings. They have monthly meetings, and then they have work group meetings. So Ashley's been very busy contributing to the process, figuring out rubric categories, figuring out interview questions, figuring out the application, figuring out what to randomize on the application, what not to randomize, how do we prevent bias in the process. Many, many discussion questions. Ooh, look at this fun picture of your district counselors. Find Chris and David. I don't know where they're at. Okay. So this is where we're at. Applications are coming to the nominating committee on a rolling basis through February 7th. After that, they have a very lengthy application review process. They have to review all of the applications by a deadline so that scores can be tabulated and counted up. Staff are going to work behind the scenes to make some fun data tables to help them understand things. There's a closed meeting in this process where they have to determine who to interview. They will interview people, have another closed meeting to decide who to move forward. After they move forward 14 names, the mayor picks from that list of 14 to find 7, and then the city council confirms. Oh, look, timeline, things I talked about already, but extra details. So we're still here. Next week we're there. 30 days after that we'll be there. Cross your fingers that the mayor likes everyone that they picked, and there's a quick turnaround on his announcement for who he's pushing forward. All right. What happens if the mayor is like, hey, you sent me 14 names and I only like 5 of them? He has to say why he doesn't like 2 of the people. We have to post that for the nominating committee, and then there will be a new list of names from the nominating committee that goes to the mayor. But the transparency around why he's not into the 2 people is a form of transparency, so that's good. If city council doesn't confirm, it happens again. They get to ask for new names. Okay, details. Don't worry about writing this down or anything. There's flyers in the back that has all this information, and all the things that I said really fast are also at this QR code that again are at those flyers. My name is Anna. I'm a project manager for the district councilors, and Charles is also here. We both support the nominating committee and all of the district council work, and we'll hang out to answer any questions. Okay, you're welcome.
I have a question for Ashley or Anna. So I heard about there being a rubric, I guess, for the applications. Okay, yeah, my question is, if we who are not in the nominating committee, what will we hear throughout this process before names are submitted to the mayor?
What information are you looking for?
I don't know, well, that is the open question. Will we be part of the process in any way.
You were part of the process when you got to name some of the rubric categories that you cared about, and there was a survey that Ashley had a few months ago when they were forming the rubric.
And you're also part of the process by encouraging your network to apply.
Sure. So the deliberations on the applications are, they're closed with the nominee. Okay, that answers my question.
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate all your help and your assistance as always. For those that didn't think that Councilor Vargas did nothing but show up here and talk at the meetings, she actually does have another part very important part that she serves on this committee by attending those meetings. So thank you, Councilor Vargas.
Anna, could you rotate the phone, please?
Oh, good call.
Sorry.
So if anyone was unclear before this, certainly you're more confused now, but we're lucky to have Anna and Charles here to kind of fetter out and figure out all those questions you may have. I highly suggest anyone interested in serving and assisting us with doing what we do to please apply. Worst thing they can say is no, right? If you'd ever ask a question, the answer is automatically no. So strongly encourage all interested to apply. All right. Any other discussions regarding the application process, selection process? All right, let's go ahead and move on.
Okay, great. Next discussion topic is set for police accountability working discussion. So there may be other folks who wish to give updates or offer new insights. I'll start, I guess, with some background info and updates. Yeah, so it's been some time since I've met with the representatives of the local 14th Police District. The last meeting that we had, I think, was in November, and was somewhat testy because I was challenging, they were supporting the current use of pretextual traffic stops, and I was challenging them on that because there's no evidence that they increase our safety. And we have not met since. I sent them an email, asking when they would be available to meet. Did not hear back. I sent another email early in this week, and I got a reply last night, which was pretty short. I think I will maybe read some of it. Okay, so my email, what I sent to the police said, hello leadership of the 14th Police District. I wrote to you back in November 2023 asking about your availability to meet because we have not talked in months. There are a number of items requiring your immediate attention. Number one, schedule next meeting with the 14th District Council member or members. Subpoint A, when is Commander Linus available for a meeting with the representative of the 14th District Council? B, since you had your department's lawyer contact my department's lawyer about the Open Meetings Act, are you willing to make our meeting OMA compliant so that multiple elected district councilors and community members may attend? So 2-point question. I wasn't demanding that it had to be a public meeting, but I also asked for the availability in general. Number 2, attending a 14th District Council meeting to answer specific questions in public. That was, designated to me to follow up on from our January meeting. So I asked when they would be available and if she could come to the March 2nd meeting. The next dates are April 6th and then May 4th. And then number 3 was accurate and usable information for the public on 14th District leadership and CAPS activities. On the website for the 14th District still does not list Commander Linus as our commander. She took office about 8 months ago. She was slated to take over after it was decided that the superintendent was going to be replaced and before Snelling was confirmed and took over. There was a lot of turnover in that sort of lame duck period. So yeah, the website still lists our old Commander Colazzo as our 14th District Commander, and I think that's unacceptable. Also, they don't list, or they don't have the beat meetings PDF available on the website or a schedule to find where the beat meetings are. You have to you have to be on the list in order to get the beat meeting updates, which is absurd. There is a 14th district calendar that currently has some of the next coming up beat meetings just for the next couple weeks, but does not have an annual calendar, and I don't know if it's regularly updated or how recent that is. But when you look for beat meetings, you can look up your beat, and it gives information about what you should do at the beat meetings and why they're important, but it even used to say find beat meetings, and then offer no way to do that. So that's a problem. I think that the website, as the basic level of outreach and like good faith, if you really want to build relationships with the community, you have to start with listing the commander correctly and having the public meetings publicly available. And I've talked about that for the last year, and there's been no movement on that whatsoever. Number 4, Sergeant Mike Edens, Cap Sergeant, promised to read the pretextual traffic stops report. Have you done that yet, Mike? It's unacceptable that you are talking about this in public while remaining deeply ignorant of the reality of this issue. LA banned pretextual stops and has twice the clearance rate of Chicago for major crimes at half the per capita spending on police. Yes, LA has banned pretextual traffic stops. What we're trying to do here, a larger city, has banned pretextual traffic stops, has better public safety outcomes than Chicago, spends half as much money per citizen on the police, and has twice the clearance rate of Chicago. 5, what steps has Commander Linas taken to bring the 14th District in line with the 2024 CPD goals of Superintendent Snelling, including to prioritize traffic stops only for dangerous driving and not for minor violations as an excuse for warrantless searches? And also, actually, we're all waiting to get the physical copies or digital copies of the 2024 Superintendent CPD goals, from the CCPSA. They presented in December, but they've not been put out yet for review and consumption. And lastly, I asked them to respond, number 6, to respond prior to this meeting so that I could report back. And the response from yesterday was, excuse me, I look forward to, from Commander Linas, she said, I look forward to building stronger connections between the police and the community within the district. It is necessary for the community to be a true partner in making the neighborhood safer, and I'm looking forward to working together to solve problems and set priorities. It is key to be able to collaborate in a non-adversarial way, and I'm eager to find that balance. If one of the district council members, one of the members of the district council would like to meet with me, they can call my office and set up a meeting. So I guess my next step is to call them rather than emailing, since that was a request that she made. That pretty much concludes that. Yeah, does anyone have any new business or any old business that they wish to discuss relating to police accountability or questions for my report?
I have,
Yes, sir.
with your permission, could I get a copy of that so that I can include it in the document, in the historical document?
Yes, sorry, your response?
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay. Appreciate it.
And while I'm on that vein, Anna, is it okay if I publish a copy of that slide deck for, thank you. All right, sorry to.
Just clarify, if there was comments earlier about people not being able to access the commander, is this the same situation where the subcommittee was able to get access? We were requesting it here and we were not getting access?
Yes. But to be totally frank, me requesting access, just amounted to sending an email prior, although I did feel that the message conveyed to me from my lawyer, from their lawyer, was that she was not eager to meet with me and was looking for excuses to avoid that.
Just a question for clarification. So I got all the items that you asked them about. Was their response effectively call me instead of responding to the specific points? Is that what it was?
Yes, she said it's important to work with the community, and if any of us would like to meet with her, to call the office. I don't have any particular number for her, but I, just will call the 14th station.
I really hope that they do answer, because I have been over to the police district and I've actually called before, and they always say that they'll get back to me, and they never do. My relationship with Linus was definitely not. There was no tension between us, so I'm just wondering why, and I would love for her to come and clarify all this. So that's why I strongly want to invite her here.
There's a couple of
Give me 1 second, we'll get to you in just a moment. Mr. Rizzo.
The police aren't required to work with you or communicate with you, are they?
Can I respond? I actually just, so, I mean, it's not totally clear, but right, most of the power is with the commission rather than with us, and we're supposed to be, working with the community and with city agencies. But we are working, the priorities that we submitted to the CCPSA included setting clear frameworks for communications between the district council and the police. That was our #1 priority that we submitted to the CCPSA. So they are supposed to be working on that currently, or they are working on that currently with Superintendent Snelling to establish some type of norms for how we interact, which, I would prefer that means that, they need to meet with us, I think as Sally said, even if they don't like what we have to say.
And if I could piggyback on that, to answer your question more directly, they're not required to. But if they're as concerned of building that community, generating a goodwill with the community, it's in their best interest. If that kind of answers your question a little bit more directly.
And we're trying to get a policy to clarify what the requirements are. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I want to make a comment that a few months ago, several months ago, I had a safety issue near my home, and I emailed the commander and CC'd my alderman, Laspada, on the email, and I got an immediate response. So I think I CC'd the commander, whoever the CAPS person, sergeant there with his CAPS, and Laspada was very, very short, kept it brief, made it very clear it was a safety issue that I felt should be taken care of, and make sure that the alderman also was aware that I was, directly, not through CAPS, but directly going to the, apparently it probably was the wrong commander, but whoever it was responded.
Well, not to get into I don't need the details of the safety issue, but if you could give me an idea of what was the reaction time from sending the email the first time to getting a response?
I believe it was the same day.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that, that's a success story in my book.
Well, I just, seeing other people, I think that especially the alderman, so he's aware that the community is maybe, not satisfied with what's going on.
That's a great hack, if you will. If you put my name on it, they'll probably just delete it, but hey, it's worth a shot, right? All right, any other comments anyone wants to share? On the police accountability work and discussion. All right, I guess we can move forward. We've got
Policy updates?
policy updates.
So there's 3 main policy, well, I guess the 911 calls should be in there too. Okay, so policy updates. There are some handouts that you might like. For ShotSpotter, in particular, we had a speaker here, Alex Goodwin, from Acre at the time, who now works in the Garen Gatewood in the Deputy Mayor Office of Community Safety. But she presented about the sound thinking ShotSpotter gunshot detection technology for the city back in, I don't know, maybe August or June or something. There's a handout on the table, and the CCPSA is having a hearing on ShotSpotter on, is it like February 8th or the 13th? Yeah, on the 8th. So please grab one of those. You can go in person. It's on the south side, but you can also watch on Zoom. And you could also participate with public comments and also the digital remote comments.
And if I could.
Yes.
February 8th, so if you're watching that and you hadn't submitted your application for the commission, well, yeah, you missed your window.
And you got it. That's right.
Just a reminder, can't
That's
drive
right.
home enough.
Thank you. Are there any, would anyone like to say anything about ShotSpotter currently? Yes.
How does ShotSpotter discriminate?
How does it discriminate?
Yeah. Is that one of the reasons why you're so against it?
I guess partly. They place it in predominantly poor and predominantly black neighborhoods, mostly in the south and west side. And it's mostly false positives, 85 to 90%. So there are a number of things that will set it off, whether it's a truck running over something, or shutting a window, or a backfire, obviously fireworks. But those false positives, and there are also guns that exist across the city. But it's surveillance that is only targeted. Yes, the surveillance maps onto the demographics of segregated Chicago. Almost 1-to-1.
So if we eliminate ShotSpotter, we eliminate helicopters, police are not allowed to chase, or not supposed to chase. What do we do to protect the individual? Because this committee that we have talks about public safety. I don't hear anything about the safety for all the people that are afraid to walk outside at night after dark, or to take their grandkids or babies out and be attacked by someone with guns. I hear more about how terrible the police are and how we want to eliminate any possibility of them catching or doing something to the people who are harming us normal people who go to work, who have babies, who have grandbabies, and are subject to crime.
So I hear you in terms of what you're hearing, but I only care about reality. I don't care about lip service. So the clearance, having everything that you want, having helicopters and foot pursuits, the clearance rate for serious crimes in Chicago is 17%. It's the worst in the nation of anything. So all the strategies that make you feel good are the worst for you and the worst for your grandkids and the worst for everyone in Chicago.
Then what would you propose?
Right, so LA has eliminated pretextual traffic stops, and what they do instead is respond to 911 calls, which we don't do in Chicago. So obviously that's the police's first job, and before they violate the Constitution, which is the only law that matters, they're violating the Constitution 2 million times to commit crimes, and that is not making us safe. Violating the Constitution does not make any of us safe. What might be a start would be responding to 911, would be the bare minimum start.
So I listen to the scanner all night. I hear people calling in from 911 calls. So are those made up calls? Or what are they? If people are
Yeah,
calling
many
in-
people call and the police have not, so in 51% of the cases, the police are not logging how long it takes them to respond.
Well,
And in the rest of the
sometimes-
cases, it takes over an hour.
You're absolutely right, and sometimes it takes 3 hours.
Right, so the issue isn't that people can't call, it's that the police are not responding.
Overwhelmed with work.
No, they're creating their, that's not true.
Hey man,
That's not
I
true.
listen to it.
Okay, I'm gonna.
I know what I'm saying.
All right.
Then
I'm
why
gonna
aren't they
call-
responding to those calls, and why are they on, this is my discussion topic, this is what we're doing.
I'm calling order. I'm gonna ask that we refrain from a one-on-one conversation, and you pick it up after we close the meeting. Thank you.
Helicopters are not effective after dark. I've been in lots of different protests where the police helicopters are chasing us and trying to contain us, and all we have to do is stop. In the daytime, it's different because they can see us, but at nighttime, helicopters aren't effective.
So ShotSpotter alerts make the response times take longer. In the case where the police officer was killed, they did not respond to the ShotSpotter alert. They didn't respond until there was other verification.
I can I respond to the community member? Because I think she raises some valid points. I think you do raise valid points. I think what we're getting at is you'll find, you know, Sally has been attending Beats meetings where Sally can maybe talk about it more to address these very things. And what we found is that the police have shown time and again that they actually don't want to resolve those things. So we can't even get 911 call logs from the police. When you go to a beat meeting, they meet every other month, and they don't leave any open time for Q&A. They don't want input. And so there are these avenues that we've tried to, you know, actually make our voices heard to get at the heart of the issue that you're talking about. And the police have shown us time and again that they want to focus all of their resources on these traffic stops, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, excuse me, I go to every meeting in 1411. I've been doing it for years.
Okay.
So don't tell me about the beat meetings, at least from 1411.
All right, I'm gonna, just a quick reminder, we've got a lot of stuff to get through. I value everyone's time, and I'm gonna encourage that if it's willing to be a civil conversation, we have it offline. Ms. Hayman.
Yeah, I went to my last beat meeting, beat 1414 in January, and they always read some of the statistics. Robberies are down 58% in the last 2-month period. Burglaries are down 40%. Auto thefts are up. Thefts from auto increased drastically. There was a whole series of auto thefts on the 2500 block of North Kensington. And 2 blocks away, my neighbor and I noticed that there was almost every single day, at least work days, there's cop cars doing traffic stops, multiple traffic stops. But 2 blocks away, cars are being broken into, and people are calling 911. I think this goes back to that question of, you know, are those traffic stops the best use of the cops? And I think that's a real concern, at least in my beat right now. And we didn't, because we had a second beat meeting scheduled at 6:30 and we started after 6, we didn't have time to really follow up and ask questions about this.
Thank you, Ms. Hayman. As a matter of fact, I think that kind of reaches across into another topic that we have, so we'll be hearing more of that. Councilman Orlikoff, anything further on shots fired? I'm sorry?
Oh, we can get into traffic stops. So there's, yeah, thank you. There's a letter, I'm not gonna read it all now, but that I signed, I believe Councilor Vargas also signed it, that we sent to the mayor, asking him to honor his campaign promise to cancel the ShotSpotter contract. It's coming up for renewal. And it's a great letter because it has a lot of citations, and it just fact checks different claims. For instance, you know, when a female officer was killed on the south side from a gun violence, we heard a lot about how ShotSpotter identified that, and yet the police did not respond to the ShotSpotter alert. It did not aid at all in that. And investing more in ShotSpotter wouldn't have helped it anymore. They responded only after her Apple Watch 20 minutes later pinged them separately. The problem with surveillance is that it just gives the police tools to for selective enforcement, essentially. Selective enforcement. And when we know that we have these issues, we have these long waits for 911 calls, they don't need to be looking for trouble, right? Before you go looking for trouble, do your job. Yeah.
I just do you know off the top of your head, how, like, the dollar amount that is proposed to renew the ShotSpotter contract? Because from what I heard, and I read this, like, in a news article, so I just wondered if you had any more information than I did. But what I was seeing was that it was in, like, the high 6 figures. So.
There's a lot of weird stuff in the currently it's a $34 million contract. Yeah, and I don't know the total ticket for potential renewal. But yeah, it's $34 million total, and it's not in the police department budget. It's in like technology procurement, it's in a separate department, like I think with OEMC, technology. But thank you, and yeah, I don't have anything for ShotSpotter.
Yeah, the reason I signed that letter against ShotSpotter is because we're continually investing into reactionary public safety solutions, when rather we should be investing in preventative public safety solutions. And then it is disproportionately put into neighborhoods where there's high crimes, but it's because the schools are not fully funded. They don't have businesses in those areas, and we need more places where people can frequent, and that's what we need to invest in, rather than reactionary public safety solutions. Yeah, thanks.
Council Marks, anything further on
Okay.
ShotSpotter?
Next policy topic is the pretextual traffic stops. Thank you, the Chair Moran. Some of you may, if you have not heard about that before, I'm willing to devote lots of time after the meeting to talk to you more about it, but in a nutshell, in 2017, the federal consent decree banned stop and frisk, where they target searching black people on the street essentially. They replaced that with 2 million stops in vehicle stops, and so there's lots of minor code violations that they use as a pretext, as a cover reason to stop someone and then try and initiate a search that they have no reason to be performing. 98% of those result in nothing, no outcomes whatsoever over that, and the amount of guns recovered are, I think, in a quarter of a half of a percent or something. But also that doesn't mean that any of those were preventing, violence or crimes. People also carry weapons for defense, and a number of those are not prosecuted. All right, now I'm talking too much. On the table, we have a petition. So if you have heard about this before, if you would like to support the petition from the Free to Move campaign, that is to hold a special hearing with CCPSA on this topic, similar to the ShotSpotter one. Please sign the petition if you have not yet, and are in support of this issue that the District Council has endorsed. If you don't know about the issue, or then talk to me. If you have a question now, that's fine. Lastly, two more things. The Free to Move Coalition is having a strategy meeting on February 13th. If you are very interested in that, also speak to me. And there is a new state bill submitted by Reps Slaughter, that's their name, and Peters, Senator Robert Peters, submitted a bill that would ban certain traffic stops for minor violations. Oh, it's rescinded? Oh, okay, gotcha, thank you. I heard it was to start a conversation. It wasn't, it wasn't ready for public, for finishing. Okay, thank you for the update. So yeah, info on the table. Any issues for traffic stops currently? Cool, thank you. Arbitration. I have a short thing I can read. This appeared in one of the Alderman's newsletters. I guess so. Well, that's true. The district councilors exist because Chicago elected to take the national lead in democratic police oversight. It's deeply concerning that the Fraternal Order of Police is working to undo all of our gains towards transparency and accountability and set us back an unprecedented 60 years by effectively disbanding the police board in favor of private arbitration for the worst offenses. The moral case against private arbitrators deciding if police should be punished for severe misconduct is clear. Arbitrators suffer from conflict of interest as they are selected by representatives of the accused officers, and they have no responsibility to Chicago or its people. That's why currently arbitrators eliminate or reduce any punishment for officers accused of misconduct in 78% of all cases brought before them, as reported by the Inspector General. The legal case against private arbitration is just as strong. So that was rehashing, but we've heard a lot from Alderman Waggis back in the 32nd Ward that he thinks that there's no legal case, that we can't fight this arbitration, that we're yelling into the wind essentially, and that's just not true. National precedent tells us that while many other states have the same collective bargaining laws as Illinois, not a single major city exists without some version of a police board to publicly hear and decide on cases of police misconduct. Furthermore, as the consent decree shows, there are numerous federal laws that supersede and hold priority over our local rules for law enforcement. The argument put forward by FOP arbitrator Edwin Bend is unconstitutional and violates our civil rights and cannot hold up in court. As a city and a state, we cannot pass any rules that violate our federally guaranteed rights, which the consent decree has already shown directly relate to limiting police misconduct while promoting transparency and accountability. So we already lost this court case. We're just going to be on the other side of it. But absolutely, there are more important laws than the state law in terms of public safety. Passing private arbitration is an invitation for another federal lawsuit that will cost the city dearly, not as much as it will cost us to retain police who've committed but are not punished for severe misconduct under private arbitration. That's the end of that. So it'll be back up for a vote in a couple weeks sometime, probably by February 16th, I think, maybe the 14th or so, for final vote. And 3 of the alders have been very supportive: Jesse Fuentes, Carlos Ramirez Rosa, and Daniel Espada. And Scott Wagisback did vote the way we wanted against arbitration in December. However, he has been very vocal about not wanting to do that again. So Wagisback needs pressure from the community, which he has been getting. That's that for that.
Okay, just to clarify, when Councilor Orlikoff said the way we want it, that's not the we as a public body. Fair to mention that. We're not endorsing any kind of initiative in that degree as a collective, I should add.
Just as the majority.
Yeah, 2 of us have signed a letter that the majority of all district councilors have signed about private arbitration.
And just to play devil's advocate for you real quick, because you mentioned that Mr. Ben, unconstitutional. What violation of the Constitution? And just like I said, devil's advocate, don't want to come into a debate about it.
The 4th Amendment and the Civil Rights Act. So without having the public accountability and transparency, when there's a pattern that the government continues, then it becomes unconstitutional. If those rights are routinely violated because of some local rule, that local rule is unconstitutional.
Like I said, I just want to do my homework, so that's why I asked. That way I can follow up on Council Vargas.
Yeah, arbitration, I stand firmly against it because it's the only, I know that the FOP is a union, but they're the only union protecting people who kill other people, who torture other people. And that's where they want to hold these police accountable behind doors, closed doors, when these very heinous acts are committed. So these are crimes against humanity, essentially, that the Fraternal Order of Police is pushing to hold accountable behind closed doors.
How do you know that?
Yeah.
I can shed light on the process because my organization's been like at the center of it.
She didn't ask you, she
Oh, well, I know that. Well, thank you, Ola. But I know that because I think it was last year where it was less than 30 cases that went to
I don't know the specific numbers.
Yeah, I don't have the specific numbers, but it was very few cases that went to this police hearing, and this police hearing was basically very heinous, like crimes against humanity acts. I mean.
So the person doesn't deserve representation from their union, regardless of you making a decision?
This doesn't mean that they don't. This doesn't mean that they're not represented by the FOP.
But I
It
guess
just
I'm
means
not
that it's
clear on your
public.
statement at all. It just sounded like you were saying that it was shady.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have to remind that.
I understand, there was a tone to that, but I didn't understand her comment, and I'll stop.
No, you're more than welcome to have your
I think there's a need
you're
for
more than welcome
there's a
to
clarifying
voice your
question.
opinion. Right, if there's a clarifying
No,
question, we're just trying to limit the one-on-one.
So the clarifying thing is that the FOP is fighting to hold police accountable behind closed doors when it should be public, and that's what this arbitration thing is. Right?
So currently, if a police officer, if the superintendent and the CPD department wants to fire an officer or suspend them for over a year, they can contest that at the police board, and at the police board they can have whatever defense and representation they would like.
Yes.
And that is a public right. So what I handed you is the comparison between the current police board and then the proposed private arbitration. They do already have arbitration. They can go to arbitrators instead of the police board for lower level offenses, for less than a year, if they're not going to be fired. So yeah, currently, and what we're asking, what myself and Councilor Vargas are asking for, the current system, the police board, they can still defend themselves. They can have whatever representation they would like. The difference with private arbitration is that they actually, I don't even know that they really have. Oh, I shouldn't speak on it. But the arbitrators, they're not public and they don't have to live in Chicago. It's the difference between the arbitrators and the police board. The police board is a public body, and private arbitrators are arbitrators chosen by the city and the FOP.
Yes.
Do other city unions or municipal unions have similar arbitration procedures?
You mean in the city of Chicago?
Or state of Illinois, or any public sector union?
Yeah. So in Illinois, the arbitrator decision references 17 municipalities where Edwin Ben believes that they do have arbitration in the way that he's looking at it. However, Chicago is the only major city in the state, and we have a lot of legal differences from a town of 500 or so. So nationally, if you compare Chicago to other states with the same state laws, there's no major city that doesn't have the public police board. There are towns of 500 that don't have police boards.
I just wanted to clarify, what is the role of the district council in deciding how arbitration works?
We don't have a formal role, but it's an existential issue for us where we will essentially be disbanded. Our powers over police oversight, so much of anything that we could accomplish essentially will be done away. What do the policies matter if they can't be punished for violating the policies?
Oh, we have a comment.
Yeah, question is also worth noting that we've had the police board, in response to, police cover-ups and misconduct and scandals and things like that, we've had the police board for, decades. But now this is the city community commission is going to be filling the police board seats for the first time, rather than having them be, real appointees. Now suddenly there's this push to, put it under the police board, which functionally undercuts this new department. So that's why we have that
Well, and to be fair, the police board essentially acts in the governance of the people, the community, as far as oversight of the police, as far as in the legal aspect of things, kind of like what we've been discussing with the arbitration issue. Part of the issues with arbitration, and I think it gets lost a little bit, it's if you go through an arbitration process and the arbitrator goes in your favor, there's a time limit to where both sides have to agree to it. Otherwise, they can take it up forward to trial in a regular thing. The same would apply here to it would eventually still go to the police board as well. So arbitration is not the end of it's not the end of the road. It's basically a stop sign in said road, if that makes any sense. So, and that's one of the reasons why I did sign onto the letter, because hey, look, sometimes checks and balances, and hey, it frees up the system for more judicial process to take place. So, all right. Anything else on the arbitration matter?
Did you have something to say for him? Sorry.
I'll let it go.
No, good for arbitration. Those are the three big ones, right?
We talked about the future meetings with Commander Linus. You're going to follow up on that, or would you like each of us to?
Let's start. Sorry, a general to close out the policy thing. A general update for everybody. So we were brand new last year and flying the plane, building the plane as we're flying. We're still getting our footing in a lot of ways. So having the community committees was one experiment. We're also trying to build our own infrastructure. We're trying to work to collaborate more. The district councils, not just in the 14, but all over. And we're starting working groups. So all the law says is that we have quarterly meetings and an annual meeting. But we want to, we're all working on different things and we want to be able to work together. So we're starting a policy working group. And that's just going to be a site for more concerted efforts down the line, I guess. So just as an update for your awareness, that I'll be trying to raise the issues that we highlight here, through other avenues across the city. Thanks. Okay. And I think that there might be some public discussion as far as the Linus discussion topics.
Okay, so.
But we don't have any votes.
Right, well, we have nothing slated to vote, but we would appreciate any and all input. Last month, when we all were together at the Fullerton location, we bubbled up the idea of formally inviting Commander Linus to attend our meetings. Couple of caveats that I'll mention is that this is an open meeting, meaning it's open to any person of the public. We're servants to the public when we're sitting in these seats and holding these meetings. And also, you know, when we're not sitting here, when I'm at my computer and I get an email from you, you better believe I'm gonna do everything I can to give it the attention it deserves. That being said, we were floating the idea of formally inviting Commander Linus, the commander of the 14th Police District, to start attending these meetings. Some have been by invitation only, and well, there's limitations to us putting that caveat in there. So I want to hear from everybody here in the room. How would you feel about having either Commander Linus or one of her top brass people as a delegate to come and answer questions? Let's hear what you got to say. Yes.
I was just raising my hand to say that I would love that.
Okay, fantastic.
I was gonna say yes, on the condition that it not be filtered questions.
That it not be.
On the condition that the questions not be filtered or pre-screened, and that people can just ask questions.
Okay.
I agree with both of their sentiments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Risdell.
I don't believe that the police are serious about having positive relations with the general public. However, if they want to prove me wrong, they should show up at a meeting.
The burden of proof lies on them, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, first and foremost, the reason why I want to bring this up to everybody, nothing's precluding them legally from walking in the room right now and talking to people. I want to make certain that everybody here is comfortable with the idea of us having a police presence, minimal, hopefully minimal at best, but we want to make certain that people are comfortable with the idea of it, and that we're going to maintain a good posture of modicum of respect and not make any personal attacks. Yes, ma'am.
I would vote for maybe not every meeting with them.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would like it to be the commander and not one of the sergeants.
Ideally, we.
That's really critical.
No, you're absolutely right. Ideally, of course, we're gonna shoot for the moon and probably fall on a star. But of course, we want Commander Linus to be here. You know, quite honestly, I think anybody that can speak, you know, Commander Linus being 8 months in, I think Councilman Orlikoff mentioned, you know, she's not as fully ingrained and read in as, say, Sergeant Edens, who's been in here for years. If it's something about, you know, practices in the area and everything like that, I think that's something that Sergeant Edens could possibly answer better than Commander Linus. Make no mistake though, I've met Commander Linus, whip smart, very, very intelligent, and very, very capable. So I look forward to seeing her in some of these meetings as well. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. Do any of you attend the CAPS meetings that happen? Cause I probably haven't been to the latest ones, but I have gone to several. And I've been there's many, but I'm curious if you feel required on your end to attend the CAPS meetings to hear what the police are saying to the community or how they go through the reporting or are you not supposed to be in it or what's the?
Tell you what, Councilor Orlikoff, have you attended a CAPS beat meeting?
I attended a few earlier on. I have not in several months. What I have found is they'll generally repeat a lot of the same things. So to get the police's perspective, I don't necessarily need to go to all of the CAPS meetings. And if I am meeting with them, then that's also a way to get perspective. But there, you know, I would also hear from the public at the B meetings as well. It wouldn't just be the police.
I've not been to a CAPS meeting, but I'm intending to go in 2024, specifically to my CAPS meeting.
And I've been to several beat meetings. Not quite as often as I'd like to. And as far as your question, is it a requirement? It's not set in stone a requirement, but it's more of an internal thing where it's like, I want to get to the heart of the matter. I want to hear the concerns of the community, and I want to hear how the police are reacting to it in a pretty much in a dialogue that our police are controlling rather than the community. So I'd like to sit there and learn as much as I can. Last thing I want to do is fail anybody in this room or anybody in this district. Yes.
Second comment, as a community member who does attend a lot of cast meetings, I'm not really sure, maybe other people would say, but, I think it would be great if you attended to show the support for the community, what actually is the main communication between the police and the community. As that is kind of seen as that's how we communicate with them on a regular basis. Having said that, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. I don't really know. I guess, it's a thought that maybe should be discussed at some point, if it's good or bad, or what the community sort of expects you to be there or not. Thinking out loud.
And I'm gonna make a quick comment on that. You know, as far as going to meetings, you know, we're, for the better part of the past year, we've been kind of putting our toe in the water and checking the temperature, so to speak, about how this is all gonna work out. You know, as I know one of my colleagues said that he ran into a brick wall as far as, you know, that they don't really want to have anything to do with this. You know, there's been some straight, kind of met at every angle from each person, including the community, including us, including the police district, and it's like, okay, we need to find that sweet spot to where we can sit there and have the dialogue, to where we can start making progress. That's what we're trying to identify right now. Would that be an agreement? But thank you for your comments.
That's a clarifying question. The meetings are open to the public?
They are. As a matter of fact, I don't know her rank, Ms. Rios is Sergeant Rios and Sergeant Edens. They coordinate a lot of that. You know, I applaud them for their zeal as far as getting the information out. I just think that if I'm checking my email at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's telling me, hey, tonight at 6:30, that's kind of a tough swing for some people with scheduling. So that's one of the things that, you know, one of the criticisms that I'll share with her next time I talk to her.
Yeah.
When you do invite Commander Lidis to one of these meetings, is there a way that we can know if she is confirmed to come?
Yes, as a matter of fact, when we put our notice and agenda out, it's, typically it's 48 hours prior to the meeting. I like to plan ahead. Tardiness is one of the things that I just personally can't stand. So if I could put it out a week ahead of time, I'd be happy. But there's 3 of us that are sitting there blindfolded saying, okay, well, this is what I want to talk about, and putting it all together and making certain that we're singing in a chorus rather than somebody performing a solo act, so to speak. You know? So ideally, if I could publish the notice and agenda for next month's meeting tomorrow,
You can.
Yeah, once we decide.
Right, once we
Thank you.
build the agenda. Thank you, Charles, yeah. I know you're like, just
can.
please do it as early as possible. I understand and I appreciate that, Charles.
In addition to us attempting to decide our agendas sooner, there's also newsletters that you can get on for updates. There's two sign-up sheets, and once it is confirmed, we will definitely attempt to get the word out. We could also post on the Facebook page as well. So if we know ahead of time, we will let you know, and we want to know ahead of time. We don't want it to be a last minute thing. If she said the day before, I would ask to push it to the next month probably.
Right. So, speaking of notice and agenda, by the way, anything that we're not talking about up here that you want it to be a topic of discussion, I'm all ears. I'd rather fill it with stuff that you want to hear rather than what we want to say. If that makes sense. Okay.
One thing I'd like to know, following your lead, is when COPA, the big COPA board is holding community meetings. My understanding is that there was a meeting here in the 14th District with Snelling last week, and I didn't know anything about it. It would be very helpful if you all, in between the meeting notices, could let us know about events like that. I would have gone at least by Zoom, but I didn't find out until I heard about it on the news.
Thank you. I appreciate your input on that. And I can I can say for myself, I can't speak for my colleagues. I'm gonna do everything I can to be more vocal about items like that, as well as the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, you know, the
That's great.
BIA. I will flood your inbox and you'll probably turn to spam filter.
I didn't know about that, so I'll ask you about that event after the meeting, so I can try to find out how to get involved. I didn't know about that, thank you.
I heard about it on the news. Afterwards.
So this discussion topic, I thought was to plan for having the commander come to a future meeting. We got some notes from folks, and I guess the takeaway was that we were not planning it because you wanted to just be you talking to her at that time and getting you the notice ahead of that. So we're still planning. We'll let you know as soon as it is scheduled, and beyond that, we haven't planned anything for it. It'll just be show up, and I'll have some questions, and you will have your questions. Is that right?
Well, I think, and I'm not saying you're wrong, I think the way I interpreted it was, hey, let's do all we can to get Commander Lennis in here so that we can have a dialogue with her.
Right.
But let us know ahead of time so we can plan accordingly.
On that, Chris, do you think or Chair Laurent, do you think it would be, would you feel comfortable calling the station and attempting to pass on a schedule and see when she might be available, considering that I've had some difficulties?
Certainly, I'll start working on that this afternoon.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Anything else?
I wouldn't want myself to stand in the way of the commander meeting with my constituents.
And, no, likewise. On the Commander Lennis?
No, if you can extend that invitation to, as soon as she's available to be with us, greatly appreciated.
Okay. Got anything else on the agenda that we missed? All right. Guess what, everybody? We're just about done. Just got a couple of formalities and we'll send you off into the world. All right. Can I get a motion?
Do you announce the meeting before or after?
Oh, yeah. So our next meeting, this is where things get changed up big time. So our next meeting is at Holstein Park Fieldhouse.
Yes, 2200 North Oakley.
2200 North Oakley.
North what?
Oakley.
Which field house?
Holstein Park. 3200 North Oakley Avenue, I believe it is.
Oakley and Alden? Or Oakley and...
Yep, I think that's accurate, yes. And that'll be March 2nd at 1 p.m. And we'll do everything we can to get started on time. And hopefully we'll have Commander Lennis join us, and you'll know ahead of time before that.
And please grab an accurate annual calendar. We have our full 2024 schedule posted and published, paper copy and digital. Yeah.
Can I get a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Can I get okay, get motion to close the meeting. Time is now 2:35. We close the meeting. Thank you very much. See you next month.